Hare Krishna, my friends. Haribo. Welcome to Bhaktiville. Welcome to you all. And our Friday night reading of Nectar of Devotion. We are starting an exciting section in the Nectar of Devotion on the qualities of Sri Krishna. So that's chapter 21 in the book, page 156 and page 193 in the PDF. So before we get started, let me offer my obeisances. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord here in Bhaktiville, our group who are listening, and all around the world. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. All right, page 156, chapter 21, the qualities of Sri Krishna. Oh, I was saying before we started that somewhere in the middle of all of this, because this goes on for a while, we're going to take a break and learn Madhurashtakam, a wonderful song about how sweet Krishna is and how everything about Krishna is sweet. He's the king of sweetness, and everything about the king of sweetness is sweet. So I thought it fit right in with this section. All right. Qualities of Sri Krishna. Personal features can be divided into two. One feature is covered, and the other feature is manifested. When Krishna is covered by different kinds of dress, his personal feature is covered. Here is an example of his covered personal feature in the Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with his Dwarka Lila, his residence in Dwarka as a king. Sometimes Lord Krishna began to play by dressing himself like a woman. Seeing this form, Uddhava said, "How wonderful it is that this woman is attracting my ecstatic love exactly as Lord Krishna does. I think she must be Krishna, covered by the dress of a woman." One devotee praised the bodily features of Krishna when he saw the Lord in his manifested personal feature. He exclaimed, quote, "How wonderful is the personal feature of Lord Krishna, how his neck is just like a conch shell. His eyes are so beautiful, as though they themselves are encountering the beauty of a lotus flower. His body is just like the tamal tree, very blackish. His head is protected with a canopy of hair. There are the marks of Srivatsa on his chest, and he is holding his conch shell. By such beautiful bodily features, the enemy of the demon Madhu has appeared so pleasingly that he can bestow upon me transcendental bliss simply by my seeing his transcendental qualities." End quote. So I just wanted to say how his neck is just like a conch shell. So it's the shape and also that it's so smooth, like a conch shell. I just want to elaborate on that. Srila Rupa Goswami, after consulting various scriptures, has enumerated the transcendental qualities of the Lord as follows. 1. Beautiful features of the entire body. 2. Marked with all auspicious characteristics. 3. Extremely pleasing. 4. Effulgent. 5. Strong. 6. Ever youthful. 7. A wonderful linguist. 8. Truthful. 9. Talks pleasingly. 10. Can speak fluently in all languages. 11. Highly learned. 12. Highly intelligent. 13. A genius. 14. Artistic. 15. Extremely clever. 16. Expert. 17. Grateful. 18. Firmly determined. 19. An expert judge of time and circumstances. 20. Sees and speaks on the authority of Vedas or scriptures. 21. Pure. 22. Self-controlled. 23. Steadfast. 24. Forbearing. 25. Forgiving. 26. Grave. 27. Self-satisfied. 28. Possesses equilibrium. 29. Magnanimous. 30. Religious. 31. Heroic. 32. Compassionate. 33. Respectful. 34. Gentle. 35. Liberal. 36. Shy. 37. The protector of surrendered souls. 38. Happy. 39. The well-wisher of devotees. 40. Controlled by love. 41. All auspicious. 42. Most powerful. 43. All famous. 44. Popular. 45. Partial to devotees. 46. Very attractive to all women. 47. All worshipable. 48. All opulent. 49. All honorable. 50. The Supreme Controller. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has all these 50 transcendental qualities in fullness as deep as the ocean. In other words, the extent of his qualities is inconceivable. Oh, Haribo Kandita, nice to see you. As parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the individual living entities can also possess all of these qualities in minute quantities, provided they become pure devotees of the Lord. In other words, all of the above transcendental qualities can be present in the devotees in minute quantity, whereas the qualities in fullness are always present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Besides these, there are other transcendental qualities which are described by Lord Shiva to Parvati in the Padma Purana and in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in connection with a conversation between the demigod of the earth and the king of religion, Yamaraj. It is said therein, quote, persons who are desirous of becoming great personalities must be decorated with the following qualities: truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, perseverance, renunciation, peacefulness, simplicity, control of the senses, equilibrium of the mind, austerity, equality, forbearance, placidity, learning, knowledge, opulence, chivalry, influence, strength, memory, independence, tactfulness, luster, patience, ability to talk, gravity, steadiness, faithfulness, fame, respectfulness, and lack of false egotism. End quote. Persons who are desiring to become great souls cannot be without any of the above qualities. So we can know for certain that these qualities are found in Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul. Besides all of the above mentioned 50 qualities, Lord Krishna possesses 5 more, which are sometimes partially manifested in the persons of Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva. These transcendental qualities are as follows. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble focusing on this. All right, got it. 51, changeless. 52, all cognizant. 53, ever fresh. 54, Satchid Ananda, possessing an eternal blissful body. 55, possessing all mystic perfection. Krishna also possesses 5 other qualities, which are manifest in the body of Narayan, and they are listed as follows. 56, he has inconceivable potency. 57, uncountable universes generate from his body. 58, He is the original source of all incarnations. 59. He is the giver of salvation to the enemies whom he kills. 60. He is the attractor of liberated souls. All these transcendental qualities are manifest wonderfully in the personal feature of Lord Krishna. Besides these 60 transcendental qualities, Krishna has 4 more, which are not manifest even in the Narayan form of Godhead, not to speak of the demigods or the living entities. They are as follows. 61. He is the performer of wonderful varieties of pastimes, especially his childhood pastimes. 62. He can attract all living entities all over the universes by playing on his flute. 63. He is surrounded by devotees endowed with wonderful love of Godhead. 64. He has a wonderful excellence of beauty which cannot be rivaled anywhere in the creation. I think 62 is my favorite. Anyway, adding to the list these 4 exceptional qualities of Krishna, it is to be understood that the aggregate number of qualities of Krishna is 64. Srila Rupa Goswami has attempted to give evidences from various scriptures about all 64 qualities present in the person of the Supreme Lord. And here we go. Number 1, beautiful bodily features. Any comparison of the different parts of the Lord's body to different material objects cannot factually be a complete comparison. Ordinary persons who cannot understand how exalted are the bodily features of the Lord are simply given a chance to understand by a material comparison. It is said that Krishna's face is as beautiful as the moon. His thighs are powerful, just like the trunks of elephants. His arms are just like 2 pillars. His palms are expanded like lotus flowers. His chest is just like a doorway. His hips are dens, and the middle of his body is a terrace. 2. Auspicious characteristics. There are certain characteristics of different limbs which are considered to be very auspicious and are fully present in the body of the Lord. In this connection, one friend of Nanda Maharaj, speaking about Lord Krishna's auspicious bodily symptoms, said, quote, "My dear king of the cowherds, I can find 32 auspicious symptoms on the body of your son. I am wondering how this boy could have taken his birth in the family of cowherd men." Generally, when Lord Krishna appears, he does so in a family of Kshatriyas or kings, as did Lord Ramachandra, and sometimes in a family of Brahmanas. But Krishna accepted the role of son to Maharaj Nanda, despite the fact that Nanda belonged to the Vaishya community. The businesses of the Vaishya community is trade, commerce, and the protection of cows. Therefore, his friend, who may have been born into a Brahmana family, expressed his wonder at how such an exalted child could take birth in a family of Vaishyas. Anyway, he pointed out the auspicious signs on the body of Krishna to the boy's foster father. He continued, quote, "This boy has a reddish luster in 7 places: his eyes, the ends of his hands, the ends of his legs, his palate, his lips, his tongue, and his nails. A reddish luster in these 7 places is considered to be auspicious. 3 parts of his body are very broad: his waist, forehead, and chest. 3 parts of his body are short: his neck, thighs, and genitals. 3 parts of his body are very deep: his voice, intelligence, and navel. There is highness in 5 parts of his body: his nose, arms, ears, forehead, and thighs. In 5 parts of his body there is fineness: his skin, hairs on his head and on the other parts of his body, his teeth, and fingertips. The aggregate of all these bodily features are manifest only in the bodies of great personalities. The fate lines on the palm are also considered to be auspicious bodily symptoms. In this connection, one old gopi informed King Nanda, quote, "Your son possesses various wonderful fate lines on his palms. There are the signs of lotus flowers and wheels on his palms, and on his soles there are the signs of a flag, thunderbolt, fish, rod for controlling elephants, and a lotus flower. Please observe how auspicious these signs are." 3. Pleasing. Beautiful bodily features which automatically attract the eyes are called ruchira, pleasing. Krishna possesses this attractive feature of ruchira in his personal features. In the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, 13th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about this. Quote, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his pleasing dress, appeared at the scene of the sacrificial arena when King Yudhishthira was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice. All important personalities from different parts of the universe had been invited to the sacrificial arena, and all of them, upon beholding Krishna there, considered that the Creator had ended all of his craftsmanship in the creation of this particular body of Krishna." It is said that the transcendental body of Krishna resembles the lotus flower in 8 parts, namely his face, his 2 eyes, his 2 hands, his navel, and his 2 feet. The gopis and inhabitants of Vrindavan used to see the luster of lotus flowers everywhere, and they could hardly withdraw their eyes from such a vision. 4. Effulgent. The effulgence pervading the universe is considered to be the rays of the Supreme Personality of God. The supreme abode of Krishna is always throwing off the effulgence known as Brahma Jyoti, and that effulgence is emanating from his body. The luster of the hosts of jewels fixed on the chest of the Lord can defeat even the luster of the sun, and still, when compared with the bodily luster of the Lord, that crest of jewels appears to be only as bright as one of the stars in the sky. Therefore, the transcendental influence of Krishna is so great that it can defeat anyone. When Krishna was present in the sacrificial arena of his enemy, King Kamsa, the wrestlers present, although appreciating the selfness of the body of Sri Krishna, were nevertheless afraid and perturbed when they thought of engaging with him in battle. 5. Strong. A person who has extraordinary bodily strength is called Baliyan. When Krishna killed Aristasura, some of the gopis said, quote, "My dear friend, just see how Krishna has killed Aristasura. Although he was stronger than a mountain, Krishna plucked him up just like a piece of cotton and threw him away without any difficulty." End quote. There's another passage wherein it is said, quote, "O my dear devotees of Lord Krishna, may the left hand of Lord Krishna, which has lifted Govardhan Hill like a ball, save you from all dangers." End quote. That's a great quote. 6. Ever youthful. Krishna is beautiful at his different ages, namely his childhood, his boyhood, and his youth. Out of these 3, his youth is a reservoir of all pleasures, and is the time when the highest varieties of devotional service are acceptable. At that age, Krishna is full with all transcendental qualities and is engaged in his transcendental pastimes. Therefore, devotees have accepted the beginning of his youth as the most attractive feature in ecstatic love. At this age, Krishna is described as follows, quote, "The force of Krishna's youth was combined with his beautiful smile. which defeated even the beauty of the full moon. He was always nicely dressed, in beauty surpassing even Cupid, and he was always attracting the minds of the gopis, who were thereby always feeling pleasure. End quote. 7. Wonderful linguist. Rupa Goswami says that a person who knows the languages of different countries, especially the Sanskrit language, which is spoken in the cities of the demigods, as well as other worldly languages, including those of the animals, is called a wonderful linguist. It appears from this statement that Krishna can also speak and understand the languages of the animals. An old woman in Vrindavan, present at the time of Krishna's pastimes, once stated in surprise, quote, "How wonderful it is that Krishna, who owns the hearts of all the young girls of Brajabhumi, can nicely speak the language of Brajabhumi with the gopis. While in Sanskrit, he speaks with the demigods, and in the language of the animals, he can even speak with the cows and buffalo. Similarly, in the language of the Kashmir province, and with the parrots and other birds, as well as in most common languages, Krishna is so expressive." End quote. He inquired from the gopis as to how Krishna had become so expert in speaking so many different types of languages. 8. Truthful. A person whose word of honor is never broken is called truthful. Krishna once promised Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, that he would bring her 5 sons back from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After the battle was finished, when all the Pandavas had come home, Kunti praised Krishna because his promise was so nicely fulfilled. She said, quote, "Even the sunshine may one day become cool, and the moonshine may one day become hot, but still your promise will not fail." Similarly, when Krishna, along with Bhima and Arjuna, went to challenge Jarasandha, he plainly told Jarasandha that he was the eternal Krishna, present along with 2 of the Pandavas. The story is that both Krishna and the Pandavas, in this case Bhima and Arjuna, were Kshatriyas, warrior kings. Jarasandha was also Kshatriya and was very charitable toward the Brahmanas. Thus Krishna, who had planned to fight with Jarasandha, went to him with Bhima and Arjuna in the dress of Brahmanas. Jarasandha, being very charitable toward the Brahmanas, asked them what they wanted, and they expressed their desire to fight with him. Then Krishna, dressed as a Brahmana, declared himself to be the same Krishna who was the king's eternal enemy. 9. Pleasing talker. A person who can speak sweetly, even with his enemy, just to pacify him, is called a pleasing talker. Krishna was such a pleasing talker that after defeating his enemy, Kaliya, in the water of the Yamuna, he said, quote, "My dear king of the snakes, although I have given you so much pain, please do not be dissatisfied with me. It is my duty to protect these cows, which are worshipped even by the demigods. Only in order to save them from the danger of your presence have I been obliged to banish you from this place." Kaliya was residing within the water of the Yamuna, and as a result, the back portion of that river had become poisoned. Thus, so many cows who had drunk the water had died. Therefore, Krishna, even though he was only 4 or 5 years old, dipped himself into the water, punished Kaliya very severely, and then asked him to leave the place and go elsewhere. Krishna said at that time that the cows are worshipped even by the demigods, and he practically demonstrated how to protect the cows. At least people who are in Krishna consciousness should follow in his footsteps and give all protection to the cows. Cows are worshipped not only by the demigods, Krishna himself worshipped the cows on several occasions, especially on the days of Gopashtami and Govardhan Puja. Gita says, my bird Sandesh can speak for me. Nice. 10. Fluent in all languages. A person who can speak meaningful words and with all politeness and good qualities is called Bhavaduka, or fluent. There is a nice statement in Srimad Bhagavatam regarding Krishna speaking politely. When Krishna politely bade his father, Nanda Maharaj, to stop the ritualistic offering of sacrifice to the rain god Indra, a wife of one of the village cowherdmen became captivated. She later thus described the speaking of Krishna to her friends. Quote, Krishna was speaking to his father so politely and gently that it was as if he were pouring nectar into the ears of all present there. After hearing such sweet words from Krishna, who will not be attracted to him? Krishna's speech, which contains all good qualities in the universe, is described in the following statement by Uddhava. Quote, the words of Krishna are so attractive that they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. His words can immediately solve all the questions and problems of the world. Although he does not speak very long, each and every word from his mouth contains volumes of meaning. These speeches of Krishna are very pleasing to my heart. Just checking the clock. 11. Highly learned. When a person is highly educated and acts strictly on moral principles, he is called highly learned. A person conversant in different departments of knowledge is called educated, and because he acts on moral principles, he is called morally stout. Together, these two factors constitute learning. Krishna's receiving education from Sandipani Muni is described by Sri Narada Muni as follows, quote, in the beginning, Lord Brahma and others are as clouds of evaporated water in the great ocean of Krishna. In other words, Brahma first received the Vedic education from Krishna, as the clouds receive water from the ocean. That Vedic education or instruction, which was spoken by Brahma to the world, was then reposed upon the mountain of Sandipani Muni. Sandipani Muni's instructions to Krishna are like a reservoir of water on the mountain, which flows as a river and goes again to mix with the source, the ocean of Krishna. To be more clear, the idea is that Krishna actually cannot be instructed by anyone, just as the ocean does not receive water from any source but itself. It only appears that the rivers are pouring water into the ocean. So it is clear that Brahma received his education from Krishna, and from Brahma, via the disciplic succession, this Vedic instruction was distributed. Sandipani Muni is likened to the river which is flowing down again to that same original ocean of Krishna. The Siddhas, the inhabitants of Siddha Loka, where all are born with fully developed mystic powers, and the Charanas, the inhabitants of a similar planet, pray to Krishna as follows, quote, my Lord Govinda, the goddess of learning, who is decorated with 14 kinds of educational ornaments, whose intelligence is all-pervading within the 4 departments of the Vedas, whose attention is always on the law books, given by great sages like Manu, and who is apparelled in 6 kinds of expert knowledge, namely Vedic evidence, grammar, astrology, rhetoric, vocabulary, and logic, and whose constant friends are the supplements of the Vedas and Puranas, decorated with the final conclusion of all education, has now acquired an opportunity to sit with you as a class friend in school, and she is now engaged in your service. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not require any education, but he gives a chance to the goddess of learning to serve him. Being self-sufficient, Krishna does not require the service of any living entity, although he has many devotees. It is because Krishna is so kind and merciful that he gives the opportunity to everyone to serve him, as though he requires the service of his devotees. Regarding his moral principles, it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is ruling over Vrindavan as death personified to the thieves, as pleasing bliss to the pious, and as the most beautiful Cupid to the young girls, and as the most munificent personality to the poor men. He is as refreshing as the full moon to his friends, and to his opponents, he is the annihilating fire generated from Lord Shiva. Krishna is therefore the most perfect moralist in his reciprocal dealings with different kinds of persons. When he is death personified to the thieves, it is not that he is without moral principles, or that he is cruel. He is still kind, because to punish thieves with death is to exhibit the highest quality of moral principles. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that he deals with different kinds of persons according to their dealings with him. Krishna's dealings with devotees and with non-devotees, although different, are both equally good. Because Krishna is all good, his dealings with everyone are always good. We'll stop there. We ran over. Sorry about that. Oh, and Sandesh is speaking. Sandesh is the bird speaking. Hare Krishna. Hi. Yes, good place to stop. So this goes on for a while because we have 64 qualities to go through. And we'll take a little break in there and learn a new song, which will be fun. Any questions, any comments about what we've read? I find this section very enlivening. Yeah. Finished by a blue guy, but the blue guy is so beautiful. I don't think it'd be bothered. All right, loved it. Me too. You're welcome. Thank you everyone for coming. Good to see you all. Have a wonderful couple of days until we see you again on Tuesday. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.